Beyond health-related issues, population aging poses other challenges such as an increase in the dependency ratio, the need for the provision of social services and cater to the needs of older adults, economic and financial security, and psychosocial issues including loneliness and mental health. Continuous urbanization, adoption of modern lifestyle, and economic pressures have caused myriad changes to social norms and family structures, all of which have left older adults with less social, social and instrumental support. Preparing to educate nation. Is Malaysia ready? I'm Muhammad Mafrukin Mokhtar, and this is The Insight.
Let's go.
Malaysia's population has been rapidly aging, largely due to longer life expectancy and a declining trend in fertility rates. By 2040, the percentage of older adults is expected to hit approximately 15%, making the country an aged nation. While population aging is a cause for celebrations, it comes with a set of challenges. Aging is often associated with a decline in health, increase in chronic diseases and disabilities, and gradual loss of independence. Although these problems are not because of aging per se, they will become aggravated if adequate programs and policies that promote the well-being of older adults are not in place. As we are going to be an aging population, another worrying issue is the fund for retirement. Recently, EPF revealed that more than half of EPF contributors have less than 50,000 in their EPF account balance. So the retirement years of Malaysians will be significantly tarnished by lack of savings. Today, we have our distinguished speakers, Yang Berbahagia Emeritus Professor Datuk Norma Mansor. She's a Director of Social Wellbeing Research Centre. And we also have Professor Insinyur Dr. Siti Anum Ahmad. She's Director, Malaysian Research Institute of Aging, or in short, we call My Aging. Welcome to the Insights. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I would like to start with Prof. From your 2 decades work in gastrology, maybe you would like to set the tune, set the context of what you have found in your work with this gastrology. Please, Prof.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much AKPK for inviting Malaysian Research Institute Energy for this program, The Insight. So as you mentioned earlier, Malaysia is aging rapidly, very increased, and then maybe I can add a bit. If you look at 60 years old and above, Malaysia will become an aged nation by 2030, where 14% of the total population are older persons 60 years old and above from the total population. So due to this, I mean, there are various efforts should have been and should be made. And of course, this is the function of My Aging. We were first established in 2002, and during that time, we were known as Institute of Gerontology. And later in 2015, we have been upgraded by the Malaysian Cabinet and become National Research Institute. So our focus is aging and older persons, not just on research, but also in activities. So the focus, we are focusing on the 3 main areas. I mean, aging is not just on medical, not just on social. We look in 3 perspectives: on social gerontology, medical gerontology, geriatrics, and also, of course, gerontechnology. Me, myself, by background, I'm an engineer. So I joined My Aging in 2017. Okay, because of that, the aim of My Aging is we want to become an intellectual and physical hub for research, development, commercialization, and innovation in aging and older persons. So since our establishment, of course, we have conducted multiple research in these few areas, and we have shared our findings not just to policymakers, also to communities through our scientific publication, media social, and also through various programs. I mean, we've been working with Datuk Norma for a long time in different areas, but on aging and research. And even in 11 Malaysia plan, My Aging, we've been mandated to conduct active and productive aging. So how we want to promote productive and active aging among older persons, even if after you retire. And of course, the topics for today is on financial abuse. That is part of how we can prevent through our various programs and research.
Based on your research with regard to financial abuse,
Yeah.
would you like to highlight some other insights that you found in the research?
Okay, so maybe I could share the study that we conducted a few years ago on financial abuse among older persons. Of course, there are two elderly abuse, two components, two main factors. The first one is emotional abuse, and the second one is financial abuse. I mean, this study is a few years ago. The first one is emotional abuse, financial abuse comes second. But nowadays, I think the financial abuse become the first one. Okay. And then, when we in the study, how we measure the financial abuse, we look into there are four. Okay, if you don't mind, I will look with it. Okay, the first one is how the money, property, or assets that use taken without consent from the older persons. And the second one is signature forged on check or other financial documents. So maybe nowadays it's more to online banking. All right. And the third one is all pension given to the children. I believe many of us agree. Our children waiting for the parents to retire, because especially for even private and public pension, you will receive a big lump sum during retirement. So that is one of our findings. And the fourth one is expenditure controlled by the carer. So we have that case also, the financial abuse among the older persons. So is it okay if I continue?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Prof.
So what caused the financial abuse? Because of the trust.
Overtrust.
Of the trust. I mean, usually the abuser within their family members. Yeah. So they thought the promise is okay, and then because of love maybe, so they just give. And the other one is they have, as we know, as we grow old, our condition, our capabilities is decreased. So maybe because of this condition, because of these disabilities, it makes the older person easier target for financial abuse. I mean, you need help. And because of the trust, you just release everything. So that is one of the contribution for this financial abuse.
Yeah, we also discussed about the trust in the previous episodes where, you know, when you're being abused, you lost trust. And it's not only lost trust, they are having lost confidence about themselves.
Yes, correct.
So this is quite worrying on that. Thank you very much, Prof. It's very good insights on the research. Now, Prof. Datuk Norma, you know, as a research agency on the Social Wellbeing and Research Center, maybe perhaps you would like to give us some perspectives in terms of how this aging population will give some impact on the social aspect. Prof, maybe would you like to debrief it and give us more insights on that?
Okay, when we are talking about older persons, they are not homogeneous. They are quite diverse, depending on their ages, depending on their health conditions, and also their socioeconomic status. Some are more affluent than others, and of course, some are healthier than others. So there are these issues that is underlying when you talk about an aging population or among the older population. But there are two main issues that we can, among other things. Of course, there are other aspects as well, because as I mentioned, they are quite diverse. Even Malaysians, we are not all urban. We are urban and rural and different cultural backgrounds and all that. That would also translate into different scenarios when you talk about older persons. But the two main issues confronting the social well-being of the older persons are financial, the first one, and Prof. Anum has also mentioned that. Poverty is something that we always talked about among Malaysians, And the latest data by DOSM, although it was a 2019 data, shows that the incidence of absolute poverty among the 65 and older, 65 years old and older, is on the rise. It's about 20%. So that is one factor when you are without any financial or any income that would also subject to abuse. So being financially dependent would pose a greater tendency to be abused. Of course, the other aspect as well is that if you have some income, that can also be subjected to abuse, because then your family members, would come and try to get some
they will take
money from you, taking advantage of you also. And as Prof. Anum was saying, when you need help, you are also lonely, which is the second aspect of the aging, the well-being of older persons, is the loneliness, the caring, the long-term care is the other aspect. So perhaps you have an income, but you don't have people that can care for you is also a challenge. In fact, Malaysia is one of those that we have always in the past think that we are a society that value family, filial piety. We pride ourselves among the Asian societies that we expect family members, our children or our kin, to look after us, but that is not necessarily true anymore. So, and I think because of that we are slow in coming up with the infrastructure, for us to prepare our infrastructure for an aging population. So countries that rely on state, for instance, such as the Scandinavian countries or Europe for that matter, the state has always taken up the role as the planner as well as provider, for social security for old age or for other kind of vulnerabilities for that matter. But but for Malaysia and some of our Asian countries, we are not prepared for that. So as it was mentioned earlier in the previous panel, that we have to look into the long-term care that yes, the government may provide, but government as the policy maker, you introduce policies is also to influence behaviors, to nudge certain behavior in certain ways. So if the government wants to capitalize on our Asian filial piety, you can also empower the family and the community to care for our older, for our seniors. So as I will probably touch upon, we can discuss later on what are the kind of things that we can do in order for the government to nudge behavior so that family can also, or community can also participate. So the whole of society thingy can come into the design or preparing for our nation becoming an aging, having an aging population.
Very interesting. One of the communities that both of you mentioned about the financial abuse, and that is very important for the policies and also enforcement. But before that, maybe we can have a short break before we come back and go to the next question and dig more insights with the two distinguished guests. So we'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Let's go.
Welcome back to the Insights brought to you by AKPK Financial Education and Wellbeing Research Center, FEWRC. Today we're talking about financial abuse, aged nation. Is Malaysia ready for that? We have a distinguished speakers from My Aging and also SWRC on the research on elderly. So we are talking just now about the landscape of what is happening and what is actually impact of this aging population to their social well-being aspect. I would like to continue with Dato' before we break just now. Maybe what is your views from the social well-being perspective? How do we overcome social stigma associated with financial abuse? Because we know that those victims are actually not come forward and report about the story that being abused. Most of them actually coming, the perpetrators is coming from their next of kin, close relatives and whatnot. So what is your opinion on that?
Thank you. I think the social stigma is not just about when older persons are abused by family members, but in our society, most for us the utmost importance is the family name, and the sanctity of family.
Yeah.
So if you were to report any wrongdoing, it's not just about being an older person reporting on their on their children, but also even among husband and wives, or siblings for that matter. So I think it is hard to break that trap, if we can call it the cultural trap that we are in. Even going to see a psychiatrist, is something that people are not used to in Malaysia.
It's
always
taboo
seen as
and
seen as negative. So I think first of all we have to educate Malaysians on that, to say that these things happen. It's not just to you or your family. It can happen to anyone for that matter. So the more people coming forward and talk about this, the better it is. That means the more acceptable, and it becomes an everyday or a common thing, compared to if you went, you are keeping it to yourselves. But I think it is also the hurt and the disappointment of parents or even family members for that matter. It doesn't have to be from your children. It could be your relatives, if you are depending on them. It could be your grandchildren even, even about without the knowledge of your children that could be doing to us. So one thing that I think that we should be aware or rather raise awareness, of course, number one, as I said, to take it, to make it less taboo, as you mentioned. But secondly, it's also to talk, to make everyone realize that you will also be in that situation one day. Would you like that to happen to you? So that, as the saying goes, don't do unto others what you don't want others to do unto you. So if you are, so think that if you are that person, how would you feel? So I think the hurt and the betrayal, about someone who, if it's your children, how you care for while they were young, and if it's your family members, perhaps you supported or helped them, So it's more of that, perhaps, but it can also be the fear of the repercussion of it happening again. If you were to report. But I think one has to be aware also that not reporting could bring about repeat abuses. So I think this kind of conversation, we will have to have this conversation. And as was mentioned earlier, that how Poway and some of the NGOs, with the support and or collaborating with the Ministry of Women and JKM, is also creating that kind of environment with counselors and all that. So perhaps going to a counselor in a community center is less threatening compared to going to a police, to the police station to make a report. So I think the options or alternatives have to be there for our seniors to go to if they are subject to abuse.
Yeah, I think like secretaries nowadays and the agencies with regards to mental illness associations and whatnot, they are now looking into putting more awareness on this. I think the awareness, I would say, a little bit of increase from the day before, and I think we need to continue and provide those awareness, and so that we can break a taboo. I think it's just a matter of time. And I think maybe this is also a role to be played by us in agencies and also the policy developers to look into how we increase the awareness. Thank you very much, Dato. Before we break, Prof, you mentioned about the research that the centers have conducted. Then you found that financial abuse is there, and what I want to know more, perhaps if you could share. What are the main causes of financial abuse among elderly? Do you have any insights to share? What are the main causes for this financial abuse? Why this happened?
I think I shared it earlier. I mean, the main causes of this financial abuse, and also been supported by Datuk Norma just now, because when you grow old, there are several limitations. For example, your mobility, for example, you cannot go out. You need helpers, and then usually you ask someone that you thought you trust to help you, but at the end, the one that you trust.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I want to come to my next question, Prof. When someone you trust is actually encouraged to do something.
Yes.
Right. And when you go to, for example, if I were the bankers and you come forward to me and try to mortgage some of the properties, for example, how do we know that your actions and come forward to mortgage your property is actually genuinely from yourself, you need that, or maybe you're being influenced by others? How do I detect that, Prof?
Do you think we have a mechanism to detect that? Because it's very unique. Different cases, different unique in different ways. People nowadays, they are very creative on how is it genuine or is it scammer. So it's very genuine. It's a scammer. It's very convincing.
I see. So the next question is, if we have this kind of measurement, for example, if I were the frontliners of the banks, or if I were the frontliners of the financial institution providers, and these elderly come forward and try to mortgage some of the properties, and maybe if we can educate those frontliners to trigger actions taken by this elderly is being influenced by their children and whatnot, what do you think? Can it be helpful for us? Maybe at least to give some indication that, as we know, those being abused are not come forward to report. And at least we, as frontliners, can have a detection so that we can at least try to assess more whether there is abuse or not.
Because based on our research, based on our surveys, and then we talk to other persons, normally at the beginning, the children, the relatives, sweet talk the parents.
I see.
So they never thought once they change the mortgage, they change name, and the story turns around. So we have many cases like that from the surveys that we conducted with them. So
it's very difficult to
detect.
detect.
It's very difficult. Unless it's from outsiders, from the call. I mean, sometimes this is related to the online scammers that call you, that even let me share my experience with my father. He just received call, and then we were next to him. We told him, don't trust, but I don't know how the scammers talked to him, and he fell for that. And then luckily, during that time, my father was a teacher pensionate, so he doesn't have thousands of money but so again, we don't know how these scammers work. What is the catch point that catch the older persons that made them fall for that scam?
So it's very difficult to detect.
Yes, I think so. Maybe Datuk Norma has experience on this. I mean,
well, if you want me to add, I think the other way is also to you're talking about frontliners with what you call reverse mortgage that you have and all that. Maybe the other way is also to talk to the relatives as well. When they come, I was made to understand that in Japan, for instance, if you want to sell an insurance to an older person, you will need a relative to be around, and you have to read many times so that it's well understood.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's a very good discussion so that we can have, ways of how to protect further and give more protection to this elderly, in addition to awareness that we provide, and also education to our caretakers and whatnot. So I think we can have a more discussion. We have more. We have questions on the Slido. Maybe we can entertain that after this short break. Maybe we can have a quick break. Dato and Prof will be back, and stay tuned.
Let's go. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Insights, brought to you by AKPK FEWRC, and today we're talking about elderly, financial abuse, aged nation, and we have our distinguished speakers, Prof. Dato' Norma from SAWRC and also Prof. Siti Anom from My Aging. We have questions from the audience. Thank you very much for the questions. I would like to take one of the questions, and someone is interested to know more about SWRC. What SWRC has been doing to help Malaysia approaching age population status.
Thank you, Ain. Thank you. And thank you for the question. SWRC is an EPF endowed center, so we are funded by EPF. And our role is to advance research and also support policy making, providing input for policy making in the areas of retirement and financial protection, as well as well-being. One of the ways that we are hoping to contribute is through our research, the Malaysia Aging and Retirement Survey. So it is a nationally representative survey, and it covers throughout Malaysia. And the objective of the survey is to be able to know the scenario of aging in Malaysia. So we survey Malaysians from the age of 40 and older. So and it's randomly selected. So that it is scientific enough for us to provide or to give input for policies. The idea is for us to do it longitudinally, meaning that we follow the same person. It's a panel data. We follow the same respondent throughout the years. So we do it every other year. So every 2 years we conduct once, and it covers the areas of socioeconomic, health and assets, income, and all those variables that we think is important for the Malaysian government to know in order for us to come up with an evidence-based policies. So we have our study have been shared with the Economic Planning Unit, with the Ministry of Women, and of course the EPF and various other agencies. And our objective is so that if there is any, for instance, if you want to know whether Malaysians have any savings, What type of savings? Are they in the tabung haji? Are they in their deposits, EPF? All those questions or answers to those, we have it as well. And the fact that we are tracking, we would also be able to know what are the impacts of some of the government policies. Yeah, so, for instance, from our study shows that the recipients of the so-called social assistance, where it was first introduced, it was Bantuan Satu Malaysia. There were less people getting the support, and with Bantuan Keluarga Malaysia, for instance, more people are getting. Of course, that is to be expected because it's spread more widely. But you would also want to know what will be the impact, the additional income that they get. Is it helping or not? So that is when you talk about the adequacy of the government assistance. So those are some of the ways that we support the government, and we sit on various national committees, especially the Malaysia Aging Social Protection Council, and SWRC do give input to those meetings.
Very glad to know that those initiatives are very important, and congratulations on the efforts that has been carried out by SWRC. There's also one question about what panelists can suggest to promote literacy among adults. I believe literacy is on financial literacy, one of them. Maybe Prof, you would like to take that question?
Maybe I could share. This is one of our programs. This is in response in COVID-19 2020. So because we know that we are totally in lockdown, so we rely much on technology, we rely much on mobile devices, and these older persons are the marginal group. Okay, so we conducted survey during that time, and we received good responses, and from there we developed digital literacy programs.
I see.
Okay, from that survey, we are not looking at the main, of course, during that time, the main this digital literacy module is we see communication. But when we conducted the survey, we see that there are five important factors they want to know through this literacy, digital literacy. And we just communication, of course, WhatsApp and Facebook, and then navigation, and then we teach them, we develop module how to use online banking, online shopping, Shopee, and also self-checkout. And then trusted, we have one module on trusted online services. This is included online banking.
I see.
So usually most of them, what is the one? Oh, the first one is we introduce about mobile devices, how to familiarize yourself with tablet, handphone, smartphone. So those are 5 modules that we have developed during COVID-19, and it should be, and we have used it. Okay, we have used it to different groups. We have shared the modules to different groups, and it is free of charge, can be downloaded by anybody from My Aging website. And as mentioned in the previous episode, we have Pusat Aktiviti Warga Emas Power, right? So My Aging, we also have Pusat Aktiviti Warga Emas. We have offsite facility in Seremban.
In short,
Power at My Aging.
Power at My Aging.
Power at My Aging.
Power at My
So
Aging.
it is funded by JKM, but it's run by we have an NGO, but it's My Aging, we monitored the content. And of course, the objective of that Power is to promote active and productive aging through lifelong learning. So one of the modules that we teach, one of the activities that we teach during in Power is financial abuse. We have invited police officers from Bukit Aman to come all the way to Seremban to share about this online scamming, and then of course over our engagement with elderly, they are very open to technologies. They want to learn. So if you have a section they don't want to learn, they want to learn, or maybe you have take quite sometimes
longer time.
Longer time for them, but they are open to learn. So that is one of our program.
Interesting.
Yes.
Amazing. I mean, you know, those initiative, Power at JKM, we have a Power at My Aging.
This is part of JKM project.
Yeah.
Thank you for the funding. So we
and you know, for information, in AKPK we have Power, POW, Pengurusan Wang Ringgit Anda.
Maybe we can invite AKPK to come to Power and My Aging to share what we can offer to older persons.
Maybe we can combine and we can put it like Power.
Of course.
All right, so there's quite a quite number of questions, but I think the question are quite the same, addressing on the literacy and whatnot.
Yeah.
We have no much time, Prof. And Dato', maybe before we conclude, way forward. Maybe we'd like to start with Dato'. So what is our way forward? Maybe from research, and what are the areas that we should focusing that could have policy implication in protecting elders from, in particular, financial abuse?
Thank you, Ian. Yeah, thank you. I would like to focus on two areas.
Mhm.
Yeah, one is I would like to pick up from the earlier panel on professionalizing social work.
Yeah.
I think that that's very important.
Mhm.
That we now social work is seen as like at the bottom of any of the occupational rank, if you were to rank it.
Mhm.
And no one wants to get into social work.
Yeah.
So social work does not just, not just referring to caring for older persons, but also any kind of social work.
Mhm.
So we have to professionalize it, and is as profession like nursing.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if we were to do that, then I think then more people will would want to get into the profession.
Mhm.
And capitalize on what I would call the care economy.
Mhm.
I think we have to have a fresh look at
Mhm.
this care economy again, and do a U-turn, in looking at the social work. The second aspect is to relook at social protection,
Mhm.
because income security for older persons is one of the key protection that is advocated or that is suggested by and done globally. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we do not have that. We have it for the poor, as
Mhm.
was mentioned, 180,000
Yeah.
who receives the bantuan orang tua,
Mhm.
and yet we have about 3 million 60 and older, and about 2 million 70 years and older. So income security is, I think, something that we have to look at, but I don't suggest that we just tweak that.
Mhm.
I think we have to have a national conversation
Mhm.
on social protection and see it as we are slowly becoming a developed nation, as well as an aging population.
Mhm.
A developed nation, emerging developed nation with an aging population
Mhm.
is not, it's not something that one can look forward to if one is not prepared.
I see.
So I would suggest that we relook at our social protection system in the country.
Interesting. I think based on what you have just mentioned, I think it can give more clearer to our researchers out there to put their focus on what needs to be done. Prof, what additional that you want to put at?
Maybe I can
Yeah.
add, there are two pertinent issues. One is social protection system has been explained by Dr. Norma, and the other one is on the healthcare.
Healthcare.
So as we know, older persons is not homogeneous, they are heterogeneous, and they are not they are not suddenly lose their physical and mental capacity at 60 years old. I believe that Norma herself age
Much
is
older than
much
60.
older, but still she can contribute. So this aging population actually shows the sign of success in the socio-economic development in Malaysia. Okay, but however, we have to realize that graying societies, they are come with both opportunities and risks. Okay, so we have to make use of the opportunities and take action on the risks. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Prof. Engineer Dr. Siti Anom from My Aging, and Professor Emeritus Professor Dr. Norma from Social Wellbeing Research Center. Elder financial abuse is an extremely complex issue, deeply rooted in the intricacies of human relationships. Against their will, victims found themselves in a dilemma, either speaking out against their family members or suffer in silence. Malaysia will achieve an aged nation status by 2040. In the coming decade, the rapidly aging population will bring with it challenges in areas such as healthcare, infrastructure, employment, and income security, like you mentioned just now. And we leave you with the one question: are we ready? So, this is the Insights, brought to you by AKPK Financial Education and Wellbeing Research Center, FEWRC. Till we meet again. Thank you. Bye-bye.